What's on today's episode of Guitar Autopsy? Well, we've got none other than guitar legend Angelo Batio.
Yep.
Known as the fastest shredder in the land, hands with no shadows, nitro, super shred, freight train coming, the double axe guitar, not double neck. Jimmy Page plays a double neck. It's
right,
a double
right.
axe, right? Mm-hmm. He's been around as long as I can remember, and actually was an influence on my guitar playing when I was a kid. And I used to try to do the double over the neck stuff like him and all that
Sweet.
stuff. It was always.
Did you ever try to do the?
Yeah. Check it out. You can do that.
I never could do it.
Matter of fact, my orange guitar, this one. Let me show you. Let me grab it real quick. This guitar right here. Back in the Nitro days, the band I was in at the time was called Revolution, and I used to play this guitar live. And part of my live guitar solo was I would grab the guitar like this, grab it through there, and I would mute the low strings with my fingers reaching through the hole, and then I would play it, do this open string shit above my head as part of my live guitar solo. And that was all inspired by,
Batio.
That's right.
Man, he has revolutionized the guitar in a lot of different ways for sure. Just some of the inventions that he's done, and we'll talk about all that too. And just his technique is like pretty untouchable, still even to this day.
Yeah, a lot of shit.
So let's get him on.
All right, sounds great. So Michael, thank you for coming on the show, dude. It's always a pleasure, man. Been a fan for a long time and friend as well. It's great to see you. How you been?
Yeah, you too. Have been doing great. Yeah, I mean, we met back in the old Nitro days, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just telling Zach about our history, and I told him that, when Nitro would come through town, my old band Revolution would get to open up for you guys a few times, and that's where we initially met.
Yeah, that's right. Cool, it's, I can't complain. I mean, COVID's changed everything.
For sure.
I mean, I haven't done a live show in over a year like everybody else pretty much, but, It's going good. I mean, I'm super busy and doing a lot of work, a lot of recording, a lot of videos, online stuff. So I've got more than my share of things to do. So it's good. I want to play again, but we have no control over that. So
right. Have you tried to do any kind of live streaming performances or anything like that some artists are doing?
I did. I did a few on Facebook, and then they changed the rules and said if you do that, they can block your page or delete it. And so, what I have done, with the company I'm with now, the guitar company, we have like a band within the company, kind of like what we used to do with Elliot, but it's not a one thing. But what we do is we filmed 2 concerts and it's going on their app. I did one with Vinny Appice on drums, Rudy Sarzo on bass. And then they have this girl singer. She's 19 and she's like Ronnie James Dio as a female. I mean, she's what? I mean, she's really great. Her name
from Liliac, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, she's killer. And
that's
so
awesome.
That concert's going to be released. So I'm really busy, and I can't complain, but not really online stuff like an actual pay-per-view kind of concert.
Right.
I think Orianthi did one, a few other people, a lot of people, but nothing like that. What about you? Have you?
I've been teaching a lot, doing a lot of Skype lessons. I still have a few people that come to the house here and there because I teach out of my home studio, and I've just been doing a lot of Skype stuff, and then started this Guitar Autopsy with Zach, and that's been keeping us pretty busy as well, and just trying to stay current and keep my head above water and all that stuff, stay afloat, amidst all these crazy times.
Herman's Lee show the other day, and you were on there too. So
yeah, that was fun, man. Herman's pretty cool. It was a fun experience, especially the just off the cuff improv and stuff. It was fun. It's really a nice environment to just have fun and not really worry about things. You know what I mean? Just get on, play, and let the notes fall where they fall.
Right? Yeah, it was a good time. Yeah, I like it too. Yeah, I've known him for a while. In fact, the last show I was going to do before COVID hit, he was coming through Chicago. With Drag, or sold out show at House of Blues.
Wow.
I was going to be a guest on stage. We had worked out the song, all the logistics. Like a day before the show, shut down.
Oh, man.
Chicago shut down.
It was just like that, dude. Just like boom.
It was done.
Yeah.
It pissed me off. But what can you do? I mean, again, we have no control over this.
Yeah, I think as awful of a situation as it is, it's actually opened some new doors in many ways for musicians, and actually forced us all to think about things in a different way. How do we survive during these times and get our music out there and still be, still make music and do what we love? You know what I mean? So it's.
No, you're exactly right. I mean, it's it forced people to either figure out something different or just say, okay, that's it, no more music. Because the old ways are gone and maybe never return. We don't really know.
That's very true. It might not ever be the same, Yeah.
I've been just, like I said, I've been fortunate. My career's been going a long time, and I just every once in a while I just make the right move, and it kind of overshadows all the ones you don't make that are so good.
Right. Sure, man. Yeah, it's those in those moments, man, we got to be thankful for sure, man.
Yeah.
So, Michael, do you want to talk about your new guitar? The new company?
Yeah, I when I left the former company,
correct.
I wanted to do something different because you and I both have a long history even with them, and it was just awesome, and so I wanted to get with something that was completely different. I had a couple offers. I even actually had an offer to move to China to work to teach out there, and then I would have been affiliated with one of the big music companies that they work with, and I just didn't want to do it. I wanted something absolutely different. So when I did a clinic at this store in LA called Go DPS Music, and it was the first time I'd ever seen a store. We only had about 40 people in the room, but we had a couple thousand online. Right. And the first online clinic, and I really like the people in the store. So they own three things, the company I'm with now. It's a retail store. They own a company called Chromacast, which is huge. They do like accessories. You go online on a guitar foot stand, like for classical guitar or the ultimate shred.
Right. Yeah.
And
got one. Yeah.
Chromacast is, it's one of the main companies, or guitar stands, strings, you name it, they sell it. That's company two. Then the third company is Sawtooth Guitars, basses, amps, drums, and it's not a well-known name, but they're huge. The Dean Warehouse, picture that completely filled. And the warehouse, that's what this company I'm with now is.
That's massive. Because I've been there.
Massive. And it was so, I'm really happy. And the signature guitars, what we're trying to do is, you had really high-end USA guitars and they sold great. And they're big sellers. Well, not everybody can afford that, but you just have, really, your 7-string was the best one out there. I have one.
Thank you, Michael. I really appreciate that.
But it was, it is. I mean, you designed a really great one.
Thank you.
What we're trying to do in Sawtooth is make really good guitars, but make them affordable to people. So, like a guitar like this, it's, Duncan's German-made Floyd. You can get this bricked out for in the $600 range, Right. And one of the reasons is those guys are the owners of Sawtooth. The main guy's a drummer. It's almost like working with Jim Marshall. A brilliant manufacturer. This guy knows manufacturing and tolerances. And I learned more about guitars in the last year about production than I ever knew before. Right. And so we're able to pull stuff off that a lot of people can't because he's that good at it.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, we're talking about neck tolerances because I hated getting signature guitars in with freaking baseball bat necks.
Man. Yeah, right.
You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, dude, yeah. You can't play them, man. Yeah.
It's like, what am I going to do? Is this a Louisville Slugger?
Right. Yeah. And you've worked with a lot of companies in the past, too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
BC Rich is one of them, right?
What's that?
I mean, BC Rich and Washburn and the other name company, we don't want to mention names,
Yeah, but no, you're right. And a lot of it was Wayne Charvel. He was my friend. So Charvel was with Gibson. So then I went with Gibson. Then he was with BC Rich. So I went with BC Rich.
Right.
Then he started his own company called Ritz, which is that rocket guitar in my quad.
Right.
And Wayne, I love you, but I can't keep going from company to company to company.
Right.
And
I have a story about that.
What's that?
I actually have a story about Ritz Guitars.
What about him?
I have a student here at my school. His dad was the owner of Ritz Guitars, and he didn't. What's that?
The owner, Greg, was that his name? Or
I can't remember which one of them is the owner, but he told me, he's like, oh yeah, my dad, and he didn't know his dad because he, had left and did his own thing. But he was like, oh yeah, my dad owned that company Ritz. And so I Googled him. I was like, oh, I never really heard of that name. And then of course your photo pops up and I'm like, no way, is that the guitar? And then he like showed me him with your guitar, and I'll have to ask him for some photos, but I told him I would bring it up today because he's still a student of mine. And he was like, yeah, he created those guitars. And he's like, I don't even know. He doesn't know who Batio is because he never did guitar until like a year ago. But, he's like, that's insane.
Yeah. Ritz, it was Charvel's company. It was because Charvel sold his name Charvel, so he couldn't use anything to do with the name Charvel. So, but he did custom guitars for BC Rich. He built a double guitar for me, a BC Rich one. Then he moved to Gibson. Then he built stuff for me, Gibson. Then he decided to do his own thing. So it was, it was just more him, but I loved Wayne. But yeah, those Ritz guitars were amazing. Really.
How many of those guitars did you have?
How many? What?
Was it just the Rocket guitar? Is that who made that one?
Yeah. Wayne made the Rocket through Ritz.
Okay.
Made a BC Rich double guitar for me then he made a Gibson double guitar for me that I have. Yeah. Then he made the quad guitar, which was really a Gibson, Gibson headstocks. And then he goes, Mike, I'm starting my own company called Ritz. So I bring my quad in to have him set it up before I go on the Nitro tour. I come back, all four necks say Ritz. I'm like, what? Where are they?
Oh, man. Crazy, dude. Yeah.
And I never got him back,
Wow.
But Wayne's a great guy. He's still around. He's pretty old right now.
Yeah.
I'm getting right now.
But I'm not getting any younger either, man.
I'll tell you though, I feel good, man. Rock and roll, it really keeps you energized, I think.
It does. I think it really has a lot to do with it. Just playing music in general. As stressful as the music industry and business can be at times, just being able to perform and play music, it really it does something for you. You know what I mean?
I agree. And you know what, Rusty? I think we've found out in this age of COVID, being a high demand instructor really, because so many people had time on their hands and they wanted to take lessons, and so this was like the golden age, because you have a name, you know what I mean? It's one thing to be a teacher. I believe it. I have the greatest respect for anybody who teaches guitar, but it's another one that's out there in the trenches doing it. And it releases things and has a reputation. Yeah. But, so it comes with a kind of, it's like dealing with an NFL player versus somebody in high school or, it's a lot different. And we were able to capitalize on that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting you mentioned that, because there's a lot of people out there, non-COVID related or anything, that, I have students that will come to me after trying to learn guitar by learning from YouTube. And it's like, I think you can learn stuff from YouTube, but you have to know enough to know who to learn from. If you go into trying to learn how to play guitar on YouTube and don't know anything, well, who knows who's teaching you guitar? So it could be little Timmy next door teaching you Smoke on the Water, you know what I mean? And and I think in general, most guitar players that are just getting started, they feel like if they see somebody that's better than them, that they know what they're talking about. And that's not necessarily the case. They could just be 2 pages ahead of them, so to speak. So you have to know enough to be able to recognize whether the person that you're trying to learn some stuff from actually knows what they're talking about. You know what I mean? Well, otherwise, you go down this rabbit hole of just learning all this wrong stuff and techniques. I mean, there's times I've spent like 6 months to a year correcting YouTube problems from people that came to take lessons from me after trying to learn from it.
I don't know a lot about cars. So if I went to YouTube and I start listening to somebody who seems like he knows a lot, but then I find out from somebody who's actually fixing cars and racing cars that this guy didn't know anything, and then you have to, no, it's true. It's those things on, on social media and you can play fast too. And you don't have to practice 10 minutes. You'll be, faster than the first thing I asked myself is, who the heck is this? Who is this, and what gives them the credibility to be able to this stuff, you know?
Right. Yeah. You've got to be able to back it up, and you've got to have some, some credentials there. You know what I mean? If you're going to make that kind of statement,
Yeah. Well, that's what I said. Somebody like you that's got the name.
Right.
If we, it's we were kind of in the right place at the right time. COVID thing, it's because there's a lot of musicians out there that might be in like a name band or a band that had a hit or two in the past, and all they really do is tour.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're not teachers. They're really just people that play in this band and that people want to hear a couple songs from or whatever their hits. And believe me, again, I'm not trying to discount that, but if I had to base my life around live shows, it'd be over.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel for a lot of those guys too, because especially like all the roadies, man, the people that go unseen, that are responsible for making all these gigs happen, especially for the big touring bands. Those guys were hit hard, man. So my heart goes out to all those guys, and hopefully they figured out ways to survive.
Yeah, I'm supposed to go to Europe later this year, but I'm not even announcing a tour schedule.
Right,
it's early, because. The countries I'm supposed to play in won't allow anybody in the country. So,
well, check this out, dude. My band, Day of Reckoning, we released our second EP about 2 weeks before the COVID thing happened, and the name of the CD was "Spread Your Disease." I mean, talk about timing, right? We had that album title planned for a year. It had nothing to do with it, but it's like, wow, luck of the draw, man. Thanks a lot, So. And we had a whole tour set up, and we had to cancel all of it. And it's like we started to try to set some things up, and it's like, you know what? Until we get the green light from everybody, there's no point in trying to set stuff up and cancel it and then have to refund tickets, and it's just too much of a headache, So it's I'm just gonna wait till it's the green light's on,
Yeah, I don't even know if anything will happen really before the end of this year. At the earliest, I could be wrong.
Yeah,
but some states like Texas you can play in, or I think, or Florida. I'm in the Chicago area. It's still kind of locked down.
Yeah. Well, like with Texas, there's we can play here, but it's like one of those things where do you want to book a gig and there's still a lot of people aren't coming out because they're still not sure, and it's like it's just I don't know. I want to play. Don't get me wrong, but it's like I'd rather wait when everybody feels good and wants to come out and have a fun time and not be worried and. All that stuff.
It's already difficult enough to get people to shows.
Right. So I want to wait. But we had Mark on the show, who's a good friend of yours as well. What's that?
You read my mind. I was going to ask.
Yeah. Mark was on the show a couple weeks ago, and we were talking about touring and stuff as well. And I think that he said as soon as he's looking at doing anything is in January. One of those. What was that, Zach? What was it? Tour? One of those boat tours or like?
Oh yeah, the cruise.
Yeah, one of those cruise tours or something like that, where you go out on a cruise ship and there's a bunch of bands and stuff. I think that was the soonest thing that he was thinking about doing was the next year, 2022 or whatever. It's like, it's crazy.
Mark is such a cool dude,
Yeah, he is, man. He's a good guy. You ever been to his house?
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't been to his house yet, but when he was on a show the other day, he was shooting from his jam room. And of course, this jam room's like not a jam room; it's like a jam. Most people's houses aren't that size. You know what I mean? So it's crazy. And he's showing us all of his amps and gear and stuff like that. And I'm sure you got like where are you shooting from today?
This is my studio in my house. So I've got a pretty big place. If you walk around like the place and kind of show a little. Yeah. This is the controller. My computer and DOS system is this way.
Okay.
Another room there. It's like almost like a kitchen area. Mm-hmm. There's a room over there that I video, and then behind it's a storage thing. So it's it's a pretty cool area. Yeah, went to Mark's. You walk into his house. It's it's like an atrium. You feel like you've walked into Buckingham Palace. It's huge. Yeah. And then got this PRS. He might have. It's been a few years, so. He might have changed things, but he had the PRS, like the Dragon inlay, $20,000, $30,000 guitar. He had that up there on display, but it was, you were in the entranceway of Castle Tremonti, and then jammed. I stayed over at his house and I was there with Bill and we were jamming. And I was like, we were just, rocking out, just me, him and Bill. And I was like, dude, can I want to, like, I don't know, hit the boys' room, something like that. I walked out of the room into this big, I couldn't find the light. It was this like, grand ballroom, and it was pitch freaking dark.
Wow.
And I'm feeling around, like trying to find a light, and my foot slipped, and there were stairs, and I went up in the air, and I was pretty buzzed. I was drinking a lot of beer.
Yeah.
I like Spider-Man. and Mark here's, dude. He comes and flips on the light, and there's me on the ground. And I landed. I was like, "You okay, dude?" And I didn't. It was so dark, I couldn't see the 3 stairs.
Right.
Yeah, his house is amazing, man.
Yeah,
and thank God I lived to tell about it. It was,
right.
But it was. He's really a beautiful place, and he was very gracious. And the bedroom I stayed in, his closet had all these awards from Creed. So many, he didn't even hang them up.
Wow.
It's like the award for having the most #1 songs on a #1 song on more different charts than any other artist. He's won a lot of.
Yeah, and that's what makes Mark so cool, is because if you just met him off the street, you wouldn't even know he was some legendary rock star or whatever. You know what I mean? And it's even weird to say that about Mark as a rock star. I mean, he is, but when you know him as a person, he doesn't come off that way. He's just a regular dude, just hanging out playing guitar.
Yeah, and I think fairness, all of us do. I think if you're really doing something, I could never picture Eddie Van Halen walking into a room. Hey, my album just hit #1 on the charts, and I did this. People, I can play, I can play faster than you, Batio. Rusty, I can play faster than you. Nobody says that. That's actually
right. Yeah, that's very true. In all of my experience, I found that some of the greatest guitar players and musicians are the most humble. You know what I mean? We don't have nothing to prove. We want to hang out and learn from each other. That's how I approach it. It's like, let's jam, let's have fun, man. Play some guitar.
Exactly. But Mark's he's a special person. Just so much success and really cool work ethic, everything. Yeah. I like him, and I like his. Bill. Because Bill Peck and I still are really close friends too. And
that's how I met Mark, from Bill. Me and Bill had played a gig in Florida it was a Gym Fest. It was a charity that all the proceeds went to Steve Vai's Make a Noise Foundation. Cool. And I was playing that, and he was telling me about Mark. And this was a long time ago. This was like, let's see, I was living in Atlanta, so it must have been around 2001 or something like this. So I didn't know Mark then. He's like telling me, Mark Tremonti from Creed. He's really a shredder. And I'm thinking, yeah, sure, man. I've heard Creed albums. There's no shredding on there. You know what I mean?
Solo.
Yeah, and he's like, well, yeah, Mark's kind of like, he's like a closet shredder right now, And one day, I don't know, 6 months later, a year later, maybe, Bill's emailing me, and he's like, yeah, man, me and Mark were watching your videos and stuff, and it was really cool. And I was like, well, dude, give him my number. Tell him to give me a shout, man. Just hang out and talk, and we've been friends ever since. It was really cool, man. He's just such a down-to-earth guy, man. It's cool. And Bill's a great guy, too, man. He's got some cool tapping stuff, man, and all that 8-finger stuff. It's pretty sick. How's he doing lately, man? Is he doing pretty good?
Yeah. He's in finance, so he's got a really great, career in the finance industry, and but he's still a shredder. I mean, he's still at the time when we were on tour before COVID, I was in Florida right around the Super Bowl, and so we had a couple days off, and it worked out where I was really close to Orlando. So we stayed at Bill's house for a couple of days, and so they were just jamming. But that's the last time I actually physically hung out with them, because COVID kind of changed everything. Yeah. But still ripping, we had a good time. It was fun.
Man, that's awesome. So you want to tell us a little bit about the new album?
Well, my latest album, I had the same.
It's not new right now. I mean, it's pretty new still, but I mean, I know it's been out for a little bit.
We put it out during COVID. Right. We had no choice, Well, we did have not to put it out, but I couldn't go on the road for it, and it's we called it More Machine Than Man, and it was my idea. It was kind of tongue in cheek, and then the Rat Pack Records, and then they liked the idea. But I had Chris Adler play 3 songs. It was supposed to be kind of like what the Nitro Reunion album, but I made all the songs instrumental. But it's really heavy. It's actually really cool. And but Chris played on 3 songs. And he got into a really bad motorcycle accident. I mean, he's not in Lamb of God anymore. And
I knew that, but I didn't know about the accident.
Yeah. And so, things got put on hold. And then I had some weird things happen during the album. Like my mom passed away, and it was like a year after Elliot, and just things were going on, So the Nitro album kind of died out, and then I took the 3 tracks that I had Adler play on and took 2 out of those 3 and turned them into instrumental songs. And I mean, it came out really good. I'm really happy with the record. I don't know if I'll ever be able to play it live. We don't really know. But and then I was talking to the owner of Rat Pack, and we had this album done since September of 2019, and now it's June of 2020, last year. And he's like, "Why don't we just put this out?" He goes, he said we can do well. He had vinyl pressed up, cassettes, I mean, everything. And I agreed with them. And, it did good. I mean, I'm not going to say that it was my best selling album. I couldn't promote it, but it did really well. And he was happy. In fact, they want me to do another album. And I'm not so sure I want to do records right now.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on that? Because the way I've been thinking about it, I'd like to know what your thought is as well on how you plan on putting on music. Are you thinking about doing more like single stuff, or?
I think so. I don't know, because here's what I do know. I'm not making a whole lot of money on album royalties. Right. So if I spend all this time and energy putting out this creative work and it goes to Spotify and you can't sell anything, is that really worth it? Right. I hate to say it like that, but it's true. Yeah. So I'm kind of rethinking the whole thing. Yeah. But I probably will put out a song at a time, or like what we're doing with the Sawtooth Band. We call it MAB Band, but it's me and 2 of the owners from the company, and a bass player that's really good. He's got a great voice, and he looks cool. But we just do like events, like we'll do like an online concert, or we'll offer it in the app and maybe mix a few songs at a time. So it's kind of projects like that,
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I mean, like you put out an EP and you can still promote that, but it's hard right now, at least for the way I look at it, you put your music out there. Now what? Right. What do you sell? Yeah. CDs, who buys CDs, vinyl maybe, but I just don't know. It's like a weird area right now.
And that's kind of where I'm at as well. My thoughts on actually releasing music is, because I'm going to start doing some more instrumental stuff again. And my thought is, even before the COVID thing happened, I still feel like today's generation it's very short attention span. You know what I mean? So even if you put out a whole album, they might not buy that album. They might download 1 or 2 songs if they buy it and don't rip it off somewhere, right? You know what I mean? So my thought is, release a single maybe every 2 months or something like that. And maybe at the end of the year, you compile all those songs and there's the album if you want it. Or you can buy each single every other month or something, you know what I mean? And just kind of do it that way, and then do some online playthroughs or performances and things like that. And we had Andy Timmons on the show. What was the name of that service that Andy was using for where he performs every Saturday night live?
Stage It.
Stage It. There's is it an app or is it
it's just an online platform where you can go and do like your own sessions people can tip you, they can pay into you specifically, and it goes to your like account, and then you can withdraw money that way. It's kind of a cool service. Yeah. Especially with like the Facebook thing, they're changing all of what you can do, what you can't do, and then you get blocked, and then it's such a bullshit thing really now, how they're planning it. But
and Stage It. Yeah, and it's like Facebook only did this since COVID started, right? Started doing that stuff, right? So that's really uncool, because we're all in this time of crisis and finding a new way to get out there. And then they're, oh no, we can't do it this way. Now that this has happened, now we're gonna have to charge you or shut you down, or that's like.
Well, they were doing that with full concerts too. People were like just live streaming concerts, and then they started blocking people from seeing those too. It's like, dude, this is my music. Why do you care? Like, I could see if you were copying somebody else's song, maybe you didn't put it up, but it's your music and you can't even put your own concert up. It's weird.
Yeah, that's interesting. So
yeah, that's what happened to me on my live stream. I did a online clinic, and then we got the notice. I did 2 of them. And, we had a lot of people there. The views were really great. And it was just like a one-man Mikey show. And that's when we got that notice from Facebook that they'll basically take down my page. It'll be gone.
Wow. You know, the whole page, not just shut your live stream down. You're done.
And you lose everything.
That's hardcore.
You lose all your followers. You lose all the money you could have made. You lose all that traction, and it's bullshit. But it's a big, it's a very elitist thing for Facebook to decide to do. But you got to play by their rules, I guess. You know.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. It's their app. You know, it's their rules.
That's really cool that the company you're with has their own app, so you guys can do whatever you want.
Yeah. You know, I really like. You know what I feel? It's. You know, because I could mention Elliot's name because we were both super close to him. Right. He believed both of us a lot.
He was a great guy.
Elliot was just a bro. It's like Mark Tremonti or like you. You know, it goes way beyond the business, and everybody's cool. Yeah. You know what I mean? I just felt like Elliot was special, and you can't replace him. No. But the people I'm with now, the main owner, Joe, is in his own way like Elliot was. Right. He's just cool. You know, and he's really smart, and he's smart in his way of doing business. Yeah, it's so different from other music stores. They didn't care. They didn't work on music stores distribution. They went straight through Amazon and the biggest online distributors, and the retail business is only one part of the whole conglomerate. Right. It's unreal. Yeah. And that's, you know, one thing I used to love about Elliot is I don't care what time in the morning I'd wake up. Like if we were in Germany or someplace, I'd meet him for breakfast, like 7 a.m. Yeah. If I got there 6:59, he's already there. You know, he was on top of stuff. And that's how, in a different way, the owners of Sawtooth are, you know, and it's, but especially the main guy, Joe, he's just really, it's great to work with. It's like a bro, you know, and that's the kind of environment I like, you know, like I want, they're my friends too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's very important to me as well. You know, it's not just working with a company. It's like you become family to a certain degree. You know what I mean? You know, it's like I want to hang out when we're in town and, you know, do things together. And it's not just a business thing where it's very cut and dry and cold. You know what I mean?
And the given is you've got to be able to do your job. Right. You know, Rusty Cooley's advertised, you know, they know you're going to deliver the goods on guitar and play. So that's the given. So we always have to maintain that. Right. And then on after that, you know.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Yeah. But I really like the company, and you know, they're kind of the anti-pointy guitars right now, and it's not by design. Sure. It's just I wanted to get away from it, and so I'm not saying I'm not going to go back to it. I don't even like them. I just wanted 180 degree and about face where I was.
No, that makes a lot of sense. It really does. You know, I mean, let's just do something different and fresh. You know.
Yeah. I just I can't replace Elliot. So what do? You know, I didn't want to think about that side. You know, just go somewhere else.
For sure, man. So I was just trying to figure out how to take it to the next level. You know what I mean? So I went bring it all out and get the even pointier headstock, and you know, I mean, I don't know if you can see that very well, but that's the headstock on the new one.
And I'll say it publicly. Nobody designs better extended range instrument than you. I mean, look what you did before. Look what you have now.
Thank you. I really appreciate that, man. It's just, you know, it's like anything, man. It's a passion. You know what I mean? And it's not that. I mean, sure, aesthetically it looks cool too, but that's like the icing on the cake when you're done, making sure that it looks cool, right? And for me, it was always, I've spent years trying to get the guitar out of my way, just so I can play the guitar. You know what I mean? I always ran into things like we were talking about earlier, fat neck, baseball bat neck, or with a cutaway, I couldn't get up there and do the extended stretches. And, you know, I just slowly but surely, I finally found companies like, you know, with Elliot, you know, that would listen and cared. You know, I think a lot of companies already think that they've built the best guitar in the world, and how dare you make a suggestion on trying to make it better. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I mean, my comment is always that, man, guitar players continue to evolve, so the guitar's got to evolve with the guitarist. You know.
Well, you said it best. That's a really great thing. You know, you wanted a guitar that didn't get in your way. You know, and you're right. Guitars evolve. Players have evolved. You've seen that. I thought I was really fast in the Nitro days. people warm up to my stuff now. You know what I mean?
Isn't that crazy? That's the craziest shit ever. You know what I mean? But the thing that you have to remember is that you got them there. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? It's like, you set a standard, man. You set the bar high.
Well, thanks. And, but right, it evolves and the instrument should evolve with it.
Yeah.
Why not? And it's a very good point. But I still have the passion to play. That's the thing. I truly, if I didn't love what I was doing, I would hang it up. But right. I do. One of the things I want to show people too is that when you get older, you don't necessarily have to slow down. You don't have to have, like I felt bad watching Steve Vai in that cast. Did you see that?
No, I heard about it though, man.
Knapsack.
Yeah, I was like, okay, 60 years old, but I don't want to ever, I don't know what made that. I don't know why he got that, but I don't want to be there, and I don't get, that's what I'm saying. But, I've spent my whole life trying to avoid, avoid injuries, and knock on wood, I've been able to do it.
Yeah.
Neat. Like what you were saying, you can go online to YouTube and listen to somebody that sounds like they know what they're talking about, and they don't.
Yes.
Versus somebody who's in the game and who has the experience and the track record. That's the people that I would prefer to go to. And I think that's where we benefited, during this whole COVID thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a very good point, man. And there's just so much stuff out there. You have to know what you're looking for. You know what I mean? Yeah. And if you don't know, yeah. But so what's next for you? Are you going to release another song, or you're saying? I'm working on some instrumental stuff right now. I'm in this whole process of getting the whole home studio together. Zach's actually been helping me with that a lot. It's there's so much that goes into it that you don't know. If you don't know, you don't know, right? So, I would get in here before I had the right gear and try to set up and shoot a video, and the lighting would be awful, and it just was like, it was depressing because it sucked and I didn't know what to do. And Zach really helped me. He's like, oh, you got to get these lights, and let's get you this camera, and he helped me pick out the right cameras, got the right lights, and now I've got the right recording equipment. So I'm set up now that I can begin that process. You know what I mean? I've got all the right necessary equipment. If we could never do this, what we're doing today, and it probably doesn't look like much, but there's a lot that went on into getting these lights set up like this, to get the camera right, the right angle, and stuff that I would never have thought about. But until Zach helped me out with it, I was just like in here, just like pulling my hair out, trying to get, just to get one shot to look right. It
looks cool as hell, actually.
Thank you. Well, that's Zach, man. So thanks, Zach.
It's funny you mention that, because I have a guy named Austin, and I was absolutely clueless on this stuff. So behind me, there's, a couple of cameras. And so when we were, we're setting it up, like you have a nice mic. It's probably a Shure mic.
Yeah, it's a 58. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I would have thought you use a condenser mic, but everybody doesn't. They use mics like that, and it's, it's just, I didn't know, I think of it like recording guitar in a studio.
Right. And, I was using the 57 for a while, and it didn't work out very good.
It's just, but I had to work with somebody who knew a lot about this, a lot more than I did, to even make it happen. So it's the same way.
And it's really weird, me and Zach have had this conversation before. It's like, as time progresses on, it's new things. We have to adapt, to the new ways of doing things. And I know that you've been doing this a little bit longer than I have, and I know you're probably the same way to a certain extent. I'm used to just having to play guitar and show up and have somebody record me in a studio. Going from that mind frame to, now I got to learn how to record myself, and I got to have my own equipment, be a producer and a mastering, and now I got to shoot my own videos and edit them too, and just to keep up with what everybody's doing now. And I really fought it. It's like, man, I just want to play guitar, dang it. You know what I mean? I don't want to be a video editor. I don't want to be a producer. I don't want to do that. I just, I got into to play guitar, but it's like you either,
the motivation dies quickly too.
Yeah. You got to stay current. And the only way you do it is just got to adapt, or watch out, man. You're going to get passed by, It happens quick, dude. It's like the music industry is like a freight train, man. You either get on and ride it or get out of the way, because it ain't going to wait for you.
No, that's right. It's not going to, and it's going to change.
Yes.
So, as a year from now, even in the future, what they used, iPhones, can you imagine you know, I mean, everything's technology is going at a super fast rate. And, but so is the level of musicianship right now. Yeah. It's just, if somebody would, you know, in the year, like maybe 2004, 2010, showed me what guitar players are doing in 2021, I would say, no way. You know, every guitar player is their own drummer, you know what I mean? Like, you know, these super fast rhythms and, you know, production, and, you know, who would have, like in Herman's live stream yesterday, he put a bag over my head to see if I could play in the song.
Wow, that's awesome.
So my buddy Austin that was there was holding the bag.
Right.
So
oh, that's nuts, man.
And Becker, but you know, it's like what you said. Like, I know for me, you know, whether I did clinics or concerts, when I get off the road, I just watch TV. You know, watch the movie, like TV, but watch the movie. Now it's like, oh man, I got to do a live stream. Wait, I got to look cool. Wait, I have to set up all this stuff. It's like, to me, it's a lot of pressure, almost more than what it used to be.
Yeah, for sure. That's exactly the way I feel about it. Because, like, you know, with the way social media is nowadays, it's like, man, you gotta constantly be uploading videos and making posts, engaging with your fans, and it's like, wow, man, I just want to play guitar again, you know. And it's like all of that time that it takes to do that really takes away from your craft. Playing guitar, it's like, you know, I mean, you know, it's like I get people that email me stuff and say, hey, will you listen to my playing? And it's like, you know, man, if I sat around and listened to everybody's music that sent me to listen to them play, I wouldn't never have time to play guitar. I'd be listening to everybody's music. You know, so you have to, time management's important, man. You know,
I get a lot of people sending me, like, you know, they'll private message me a video. I can't watch it. I can't. I sometimes I try, but I'm having a hard time just keeping up with what I'm doing. If I add all this other stuff, there'll be no hours in the day, you know?
Right. That's exactly what I'm saying, man. It's like, and it's tough because you don't want to be rude or make fans think you're not interested or care about them. But it's like, you know, you got to realize there's only so much time in a day, and we've got a lot of stuff to do because we're trying to keep up ourselves, you know?
Yeah. And, you know, I found too, sometimes when you answer people and you become friendly, you don't know them personally, but you know them on, then it's kind of like, then the demands start. Like I didn't block him, but I unfriended him on social media because he got a sawtooth guitar and it didn't come in time for him. And what happened was it went out via the USPS. There's different shipping options, and USPS didn't quite have the tracking info right. So he started freaking out, and then he ordered on the app. You get 20% off. He didn't order from the app, so he ordered online and got actually a free gift. And he was mad because he didn't get 20%. But here's where I come in. All of a sudden, my cell phone rings. It's him calling me through Facebook. I'm like, all right, enough of this.
Yeah. That's not cool, man.
Blowing up my phone. And then I messaged him. I said, I want to help, but I'm not customer service.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and the guitar came that day. That day. And, you know, but he was all pissed off. And, you know, I thought, man, you know, maybe COVID's getting to people or something, but calling me personally. And my analogy is, and I'm not saying I'm Steve Vai, but can you imagine calling Steve Vai because your Ibanez gem didn't come?
Right. Yeah. It's like,
you know.
Yeah. I mean, it's weird that people don't get that sort of thing. It's like, we're the artist, you know what I mean? You know, it's like we help build these guitars or not build, but design these guitars and whatnot. But we don't have that's not our department. You know, we don't know how things ship and when it's coming, or, you know, it's like you say, customer service. And it's really kind of amazing because I've had that happen in the past, you know, where people's like, oh, man, I don't know what's going on with my guitar shipments. Like, well, I don't know. Did you email them? You know,
you don't call up George. You don't call up George Foreman to get your grill sent to you in time.
Yeah,
like, calm down. Hey, Rusty, check your phone really quick.
Okay, cool.
Just an update.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, you don't. I mean, come on. How weird. You probably were like just sitting there on Facebook or, you know, Instagram, whatever, and you're getting this call, and you're like, why the hell is this guy calling me? And you're probably panicking for a second, like, is this a, you know, it's like, how close to stalkerish can you get? Like,
because you realize people have. I wasn't even on Facebook. I was working on the computer in my office, and my phone rings, and I see it's Facebook, and I recognize the name because he was really blowing up my message box with this stuff. And I'm saying this kind of publicly to, we do want to help. I mean, Rusty's totally cool. We all have our signature guitars, but we're not that area, it's out of our, I would have to call the company and basically do what this person would do to find out, and, be just like if I ordered something through, I don't know, Amazon or whatever, and I wanted to check up on it. But but this was getting kind of crazy. It was way over the top.
Yeah, that's pretty out of hand. It's still, I mean, I've had random people on Facebook try to call me on the app too, and it's like, what? I don't know you. It's weird. Just cold call somebody. I don't know, man.
Yeah. I don't know. I couldn't do that. I just. Yeah. I mean, if I was friends, just like even on Instagram, or whatever social media, if you have access to their personal, you can get through to them personally. I still wouldn't do it. I couldn't do it. It's not.
I don't even answer my mom when she calls me that way. I'm like, text me first.
Yeah.
I don't.
Remember when Mark got his phone stolen? Tremonti?
Yeah.
And at the middle of the night, are you Angelo Batio, dude?
Oh my God.
And Mark texts me, he's like, later, he gets another phone. Dude, man, they stole my stuff. I guess it was right out of the dressing room at an Ultra Bridge show. It was crazy.
Yeah, that's nuts, man. Yeah, I heard about that. That's
but
and they're going through his phone, book and like cold calling people. Yeah.
Here's my question about that. They call you Batio or Rusty or whoever. Do they really think you're going to have a conversation with them based on this? Like you stole somebody's phone and you're calling us. You think I'm just going to go, oh yeah, cool, let's just chat? No, you're going to be like, dude, fuck off a little bit. Like that's the creepiest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, it's pretty weird. Yeah.
Why are you calling from Mark's phone?
Yeah.
In fact, you'd probably get your ass kicked or something. Like if that was like in real life, like if he like stole Mark's backstage pass and came back to talk to you, you'd be like, dude, you need to get the hell out of here. This is weird.
Yeah.
But you took his phone. Ugh. No.
Yeah, it's scary. Well, especially, with what's happened sometimes to artists now, people, I mean, even from Dimebag, speaking of that, I remember I was in Germany several years ago and Vinny was there and he was with Vinny Paul, and he was with his security guy named Cowboy at the time. Mm-hmm. And I remember we were sitting there drinking some beer and just having fun. And he started talking to me about, I would never ask him in a million years what happened. But he started telling me about it, and I knew him pretty well. And, I know, and anyway, it was just, I think about that once in a while, that all the years I've studied music, Dime was the only artist I've ever heard about. I mean, we talk hundreds of years who died on stage. You know what I mean? You think you go past Mozart, Beethoven, any of those people from centuries ago, he was one of the first. And, it gets kind of scary online sometimes because people think they get to know you like you're their buddies. And I can almost imagine like what a Scott Stapp would have had to go through when people think that he's almost like the second coming, or like Steve Vai, where, this hero worship, to the extreme, or it gets kind of scary sometimes. It's weird.
Yeah, for sure. It brings out like, very stalker-esque.
Yeah. But the way I look at it is every once in a while when I get weird things like that, I know that I'm still popular.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. I know when I start getting, hate posts and stuff like that, I must be doing something right.
Yeah. I mean, YouTube even said that to me one time when we were in New York. I was doing a thing for Guitar World magazine. They said that, they used the word disruptive. And I didn't know what that meant at the time, but they said, you're disruptive. Whatever you do, people watch it. And they said that you need a couple of those negative comments to fuel the argument, because then your fans kick in. What are you talking about? You suck. You know, they start going after the person who wrote it. And but it's kind of interesting. And it's still, I don't necessarily like it if somebody says something on me, but I can't do anything, so I don't really worry about it. But I thought that was funny that they actually kind of encourage that. They don't delete those posts. If somebody says something, let it play itself out. And
yeah,
like one thing you can always take with you is one of my favorite quotes is, "I need to get some new haters because the old ones are starting to like me." Right?
Yeah, that's a good
and that's you. That's honestly, that's both of you. I think you both have been around for so long that the people that back in the early 90s or, whatever, where they're like, oh, these guys they just play fast. And it's like you become the inevitable like passe that they have to go through in order to know what good guitar players are. And you have so much respect. They can't deny it anymore. And you need new people to be like that now.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that, because if you look in music history, the word virtuoso, I have the Harvard Dictionary upstairs. Actually, when I went to school, all it is that you are extremely technically proficient at your instrument. It doesn't mean you have feeling. It doesn't mean you have taste. It doesn't even mean you have a style. It means that you can do these things. Mm-hmm. And so almost every great musician of the era, some critic put that, but I think, I've been around longer than Rusty, but Rusty has proved over the years that the playing is really there. Yeah. And see, that's the thing that you can't deny. After a while, what happens, I think, is you get to the point where like people have to acknowledge it because enough people know about you, and you can't deny it. It's like, hey, look what he just did. I mean, you do that, you try this, and I that there comes a point where it's like, they said, Rolling Stone said Zeppelin can't write songs. I mean, Led Zeppelin, Kiss was a joke. David Bowie was a joke. All these huge artists, they all go through that period where it's like nobody wants to take them serious, or not even that, but they just don't like them. And then all of a sudden they're just there, and then that's kind of I don't know. I think it kind of follows a similar pattern.
Paul Stanley said that. He said that, because they got inducted in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and they were like, well, how do you feel about that? And he says, I just think it's dubious because we were the inevitable pill they had to swallow because we didn't go anywhere. Yeah. And that's just it. You just show up and you kick ass, and like, who cares? And like you said about the YouTube thing, somebody gets on Rusty's channel and says, oh, this guy just plays really fast. He has no feel. 20 people will comment like, dude, fuck you. This guy's great. He's smart at guitar, or, same thing on your videos. And you want that because you get more engagement from people.
Well, personally, I would rather have everybody say they love me.
Well,
but, but you're right. If everybody says you're amazing, then but you're not doing something because you're not in the same. They didn't say that about the Beatles or about artist that's out, Dragon Force, you name it. There's going to be the detractors, and even like with did you see Steve Vai's latest video with the one hand?
No, wasn't that where he was playing with the thing on his arm? What is he? Right. Yeah.
It was kind of hard for me to watch, but it was really cool. But kind of making a statement that he can do all this stuff, and
why was it hard for you to watch?
What's
just because was it hard to watch because you felt bad for the injury?
Yeah, because I'm wondering, because I know he's a vegetarian. I think he is. And I'm older too. I'm very, Steve Vai and I are not that far apart in age. And, I've taken good care of myself over the years. I mean, I'm no saint or role model or anything, but, I'm in really good shape for my age. And, so I always wonder, is it maybe a diet thing? Did he actually have a hand injury and arm injury from playing guitar? I was actually worried, because I was wondering, is this really good to be doing this if you're all cat, I'm just, it wasn't
sure.
It was great. It was just I'm worried, I don't think I would subject myself to that, So I was just curious, wondering why.
One thing I'm curious about for both of you is because you're both at like a really high level, just like what you talk about with Steve Vai, where like, is it really good to be playing as fast as you do, right? You talk to like bodybuilders where they say, oh man, I want to be as strong as you. And they're like, no, you don't, because at a certain level, you're going to be in a lot of pain. You're going to be going through a lot of physical therapy to get this strong. Like it's a process. It's not just, okay, you play this fast and you go on. So for you guys, like, is it something that you would recommend for everybody to just play as fast as they can and, damn the consequences? Or would it be smarter to just pick what you could be good at? You get what I mean?
You want to answer that first, Michael?
What's that?
Do you want to take a shot at that answer first?
Yeah, I just think that every great musician, every single one. I mean, we're not talking like, or even Eric Clapton was considered fast in his day. I think to be a virtuoso in what we think about, I think you have to play fast. I mean, Buddy Rich could play a one-handed drum roll. Brrr. Yeah, nobody. Right. It was only an electric guitar that people shred. Shred is bigger than ever. So the very thing, like I remember they labeled me a shredder. I didn't even know what that was at first. We just tried to be good. I mean, that's what my goal was, to be good, and not to be the fastest guy in the world. But Rusty, you're super fast. I'm really fast. I've never been hurt playing fast because I have good technique. You have good technique, and so when you get older, here's the thing that's different from a bodybuilder. You are using large muscle groups. This muscle groups, it's like the angriest little digits on earth.
Yeah.
That too. It's like, so you can be really fast. I mean, Michael Romeo's a big guy and he's flying all over the fretboard. Sean Lane.
Yeah.
Oh, I jammed with him one time.
I was going to ask you to tell that story at some point.
Yeah, because I came to a show and he was playing like this bizarre Roland guitar with like a handle on it, and it looked like a mandolin on him. But he was just tearing it up. And he came to my clinic the next day, and I was in the South, and there were a couple of guitars, a couple of practice amps. There was a big lesson room, like a piano room. And then we started ripping, and man, he was like tearing it up. He did All Along the Watchtower the night before I saw him. And when I saw him in concert, so we were messing around with All Along the Watchtower. And it's a song I grew up with. And man, he was just, his picking, like I do a lot more economy picking. I mean, I still alternate pick really fast, but I like economy. It's like, it's more comfortable sometimes,
Have you always done economy picking?
No. When I was younger, I mostly did alternate. I did economy sometimes, but I use it more now than I did before. Be like 60-40 alternate, economy. But back in the day, it was like 80 to 90 to 20.
So would you say all the nitro stuff was alternate picked? Or
didn't
really?
do
That was all alternate picked, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Unless it was maybe some legato passage or something. But for me, legato was far and few between. It's like Rambo.
Yeah, right. Yeah, for sure, man.
All alternate picking. Yeah, that's the sound I wanted, and that's what I did.
Yeah, for sure. That's what inspired me about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm
the biggest tapper, but I'm left-handed. So tapping does not come naturally to me. Like Vinnie Moore's left-handed. He's not, he does tapping. I mean, he's a great guitar player, but a lot of lefties don't tap as much, because it's not our natural hand.
Right.
Easier for me to tap lefty. It's like it works better. I don't know. It's plain. I mean, I'm good at tapping, but it's not my. It's not what I'm.
You're playing both. You're playing both necks, so I mean.
Yeah. Well, that's tapping, the hammer and pull, but but alternate picking was, and I think really to answer that, when someone gets older, these are different muscle groups. These are fast twitch. These are slow. Literally, and slow twitch muscles, and we're not using big muscle groups.
Right,
we're using
small.
And if you have good technique and take care of yourself, and you trust your body and you listen to it, you can stay fast for a long, long time.
So let me ask you: do you have a specific warm up regimen, or do you warm up, or do you just kind of pick it up and play something that's comfortable for you?
No, Rusty, because you sent me your. I remember Mark showing me some of your legato. I was like,
right.
I warm up. I start from the basics. I mean, literally just 2 fingers, medium speed. And I warm up every time that I play, unless I can't, because it like what happens when I was younger, I hardly ever had to warm up. I mean, you just had
that was me.
did, So, I'd warm up for 5 minutes and like, let's rip. But now as I'm older, I take my time, warm up. Takes the engine a little longer, but then it gets there, and so about maybe 15, 20 minutes, maybe a half hour max. If I'm doing it really slow, then it kicks into high gear and then I'm where I want to be.
So that's kind of where I'm at now. I've actually had a hand injury, but the doctors that I went and saw said it wasn't guitar playing related. So in that respect, I'm thankful because I know that I'm not going to further injure it by continuing to play guitar. But I'd been doing some heavy lifting, not like working out related, moving some stuff in my backyard and things like that. And I started noticing that my ring finger wasn't firing correctly. And I went and saw my lead singer's friends with, or works with a doctor that works with the Houston Symphony Orchestra. And she agreed to see me as a favor to him on her lunch hour. So I went down and she did these tests on my fingers where you push out and to see how strong your fingers are pushing out. She'd compare both hands and then at the same time pulling back in. So she discovered that the muscle on this side of my ring finger had been greatly depleted, right? And that was the cause of my finger not functioning properly. And she wasn't able to give me too much advice on it. She goes, there's not a lot of studies done on it. Most musicians don't talk about injuries if they have them because they don't want anybody to know they've been injured. And she said, well, just get some rubber bands and start doing this and strengthening up, the ability to pull out. Because I could pull in fine, it's just going out. That's where the muscle on this side wasn't working right. So, and my guitar player had him going, oh man, I can just practice some more and it's going to fix it. Well, it didn't, right? So I accidentally met somebody. I was at a friend of mine's Christmas party, and one of his buddies is a doctor that works with musicians and Olympic athletes and stuff like that. And he came in over and he grabbed my arm and he started massaging in here. And he's like, "Oh yeah, right there. There's like you got a bunch of buildup. There's like a lot of toxic, like lactic acid and I don't remember all the words.
It's probably lactic acid."
Right. And he said, and he did physical therapy on my arm for like 3 days before he left because he's not from Houston. And he said that from the buildup in my arm, that caused the circulation of blood not to flow to and from my hand properly. And that's what caused the muscle to be depleted. And he was telling me the same things like, he said, go out and dig up some dirt in your backyard and put in a little thing and put some water in it and just practice stretching your fingers out and building up the muscles in the mud. You know what I mean? So I didn't go as far as doing that one, but I bought some of those little things you can put around your fingers like on Amazon to, pull, the strength in each finger. And I've worked on that a little bit, but I don't know, man. Somewhere in the back of my mind, I think I can still figure it out playing. But I am working on it a little bit from that physical therapy end of things. But along this path, I do have to warm up now. And it's an adjustment period for me because I'm not used to it, and it's frustrating because it's like, I'm used to just picking up my guitar, like you're saying, just pick it up and play, let's go. And that's what I've known all my life. And now it's like, okay, well, now I got to warm up. And with scheduling things and like that, and like you said, sometimes you don't get a chance to warm up. Well, I'm used to walking in here and if I got to record a guest solo or something, just plugging in and going. But now it's like I got to come in here and sit down and spend 30 minutes or longer trying to warm up. And then if I make it through that warm up period because I'm not so frustrated because I can't play the way I want to play out of the gate, it's been mentally challenging for me to cope with that. You know what I mean? So
I have an interesting take on what you just said. My ex fiance is a doctor, and she did sports medicine. And she studied, she got her PhD. I mean, and I don't want to brag and I can't say too much, but her clients were some of the A-list movie stars in Hollywood. She lived in Calabasas. Mm-hmm. And I know here, I can explain a couple things about this. On your hand, you've got tendons that run all the way down your arm. This finger is a real good barometer because one tendon controls one side. Do you notice it was only on one side of your hand, right?
Yes.
Other tendon controls that side and part of your little pinky. And so it runs all the way down your arm. And so like what that guy said is a lot of times it could be, it's from the top all the way down. Mm-hmm. And so it could be something here. It could be something here. And like, it could be even something, say your tendon is touched. It's more of I think what my ex would say was more of a tendon thing. But if you get a little numbing or something right there, but it's because your tendon goes through the wrist. So this is the area. See, when that guy massaged your arm, see what he was saying? That's where your tendons go through here, and they start up here. Okay. So But you know what? This is why I warm up slow. And I tell people this. People used to laugh sometimes. Here's Mr. Speed. And I'm going, do, 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 do. And I've got about a 10-minute simple warm up. But I really, this part, I'm really afraid of what you just said, because, you know, it's like sometimes I'll pick up something and my arm might feel a twinge, but it's the whole tendon go all the way down your arm. Yeah. And I know for a fact, because my ex and I have talked about this, this is her expertise, but your one tendon is here, the other one's on the other side. So you can get an injury to only half of this finger.
Right. That's exactly what's happened. Just this side right here. This side.
It's one tendon that shoots all the way up and down your arm. But, you know, if you lose feeling, you know, see, one of the things that massage therapy works is because, like, it forces like blood to that area. It forces them to react. And so, like, what I usually do too, and I'm knock on wood, I've been fortunate, I haven't had anything happen, but I get massages where I tell the person, do my hand right here, right? I make them get all those points, because this is the part I'm worried about. See, like, and I say this to Steve Violet because I really cared. That's why I didn't like watching him play when worried. I thought, what could he injure? But see, if you get a thing, if you get something with your thumb, they actually call it trigger finger. Yeah. You know, and it looked like his thumb was, but that's also carpal tunnel. See, and I'm no doctor, but I do know about this. The good thing is this is not carpal tunnel at all. It's just somewhere on your arm is kind of pinching it just slightly to aggravate it. That's not really a guitar. It's not like you've worked it so hard. You know what I mean? It's just maybe you picked up something and kind of tweaked your arm, or, you know, that's so there's the Mikey take on it.
Did you ever recommend like chiropractic at all?
I have a chiropractor, but it's not one of these guys like, well, come, we're going to give you 3 times, you know, sessions 3 times a week for 6 weeks straight. This guy worked at a rodeo and he's a bluegrass player. Okay. So, and his name is Dr. Moore. I've been going to him for 25 years because from playing my double guitar, the vertebrae in my neck go kind of the opposite way of a normal human. And I have no problem. Like when I have him do acupuncture, and I'll tell him sometimes, because he told me, he goes, you know, Mike, at your age, he goes, the warranty's up. But I go to this guy periodically just to get adjusted, because never would say 3 times a week, 6 weeks. He'll go, you know, your neck's a little out of joint. Okay, back. And it, like 1 session, 2 sessions. But I have him actually, you know, I talked to him, you know, because I don't want to get arthritis or anything, but actually went to him and told him, you know, I said, can you work on, you know, my arms? I said, you know, I want to make sure, you know, I'm going on tour. This is last year. And he said, yeah. And he was explaining, like, he did some of those exercises. Like he'll put a pressure point. Like he'll look at my hand. He'll say, well, you're kind of tight right here. And all of a sudden my arm feels better because he loosens things up from the top down. It's crazy.
So, okay. So one of the third things that I did to try to help this situation was I actually went and got some acupuncture done. I had about, I don't know, maybe a month worth of going once a week. And I didn't really notice any different, but I can tell you this, I was having some pain in my right elbow, and that went away from the acupuncture. But and the acupuncturist, she actually noticed that my hand, she was like, one day when I was getting acupuncture done, she's like, well, your muscle looks emaciated here. You know, and I was like, yeah, that's where the problem is. You know what I mean? So do you have any recommendations on what you think I should I go see somebody different, or what are your thoughts? Can you recommend anything?
I do, but it'll sound more serious than it really is, though. I would recommend like an orthopedic surgeon, not to have surgery, but they know about all this stuff. You know what I mean? I had a problem with my knee a long time ago, just from probably standing up on it. Just water on the knee. I went to an orthopedic surgeon, but he was telling me a lot of, you know, I told him I was a musician, and they Googled me, right? He didn't know who I was, but he Googled me, and one of his assistants, oh, you've got that guy in the room, and we're all shooting the shit. But it's you need some, but I'm pretty confident this tendon, I know it goes all the way up and down your arm, and I know it's only there's two of them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's why this finger's so bizarre, because half of it can feel normal and the other half is like, what's going on? And so what I did, well, my ex, like I said, does this massage therapy that's outrageous. But see, she doesn't just concentrate on my finger. She gets the wrist and the elbow to try and find out, because that's usually where it's somewhere it's touching something and it's being constricted a little bit. So but that's what I would find, somebody who specializes in that. That's what surgeons do. They replace tendons and, you know, but they're not, it's not surgery. I don't think, you know, I'm no doctor again.
Sure.
I do know a lot about this because I was worried about it. And my ex this is one of her areas.
Yeah.
So,
well, it's funny you mentioned something about back, because a couple of years ago I had a back injury. Mm-hmm. And it had something to do with, I was lifting stuff up, picking up, you know, it just made me remember that, you know, because I never associated possibly a back injury with my hand, right? So it could have something to do with it. I was loading up all these books from when I was teaching at a music school, and I was bringing them home. And as I was lifting up some of these books, I just lifted them the wrong way. And by the time I got to my car, I had to sit down because my back hurt so bad. And
was it your upper or lower back?
It was just, I don't know, man. It was just a lower, mid lower back, but it definitely wasn't upper. But it got so bad that I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't stand up. I had to go to the bathroom. I had to roll out of my bed, crawl to the bathroom, and then figure out how. Take me 30 minutes to stand up. You know, it was that bad. And luckily, at the time, because we were about to go on, we had a tour we were doing, and I had to go like 4 days later. You know, I was about to go on the road, and luckily at the time I was teaching this guy that was a back surgeon, and he's like, well, here, take some prednisone, it should fix it up and you'll be good to go in a couple hours or a couple days. And he goes, and on top of that, you can tell your band that you can never load heavy gear anymore. So I was like, well, I'm cool with that, but the prednisone fixed my back within a couple of days. It was crazy because it hurt. I've never experienced pain like that in my life. I mean, I could not stand up. It would take me 30 minutes to try to sit up on the bed, you know, and then it was just excruciating. And just think that prednisone just fixed it that quickly. But I mean, maybe that has had some kind of onset, because this didn't happen until after the back injury.
You know, Rusty, here's what my ex said. Her name is Stephanie, and she's really brilliant, you know, and a great human being. But this is the thing that I kind of learned, like in Western medicine, you know, I'm not against doctors. I don't care who it is, you know, chiropractor, but in our time now, if a doctor's a heart specialist or he's, you know, nose and throat, they make the most income. So most doctors like to be specialists now. And my ex said one thing, this is this is what's helped me the most. A lot, like when my mom was sick in the hospital before she passed away, she had the heart doctor, she had the nose doctor, she had the kidney doctor, a million different doctors. Well, but Steph said this, she goes, you have to look at your body in totality. So it's not just like your back affects your arm, which affects your hand, you know, and so it's a whole, you know, everything's connected. And it's the way she looks at the human body. And it made sense to me because a long time ago, when I was in the Nitro days, when I don't know, when I laugh right now and I think of what we used to wear and go down no shirts and these super shirts. I used to do this exercise to cut your right here.
Oh yeah. I used to do that one too.
Well, what I didn't know is I had dislocated my wrist. I played with a dislocated wrist for the second Nitro tour all the way up into the early 2000s. No, till about 2007. So for about 15 years, I had a dislocated wrist. Now, because I have a weird picking technique, it actually didn't hurt. But if I did like this, it would kill me. And I went to her and I said, Steph, I said, my wrist has been hurting forever. I said, but it never hurt when I played. But if I like did extreme motions, it's like, and she felt it. She goes, you have a dislocated wrist. I go, no way. She goes, way. And I said, no way. She took it, she pushes it and went, it popped in. I'm like, shit. And then about a day later, it popped back out. And then she did it again. And it was fine. And, you know, it's weird because, you know, to think that you have this, but I was lucky because it didn't touch any tendons or anything. But I mean, but she is the one that kind of told me about, you know, why, like, if you are sneezing or all that and you have a stomach problem, I said like one time I was sick and I said, I feel like I have the flu and I'm sneezing. What does that have to do with it? She goes, well, it's all connected. So it's like everything works together. So you might have found your back maybe touch something here that it's tight there, but it doesn't, like if you couldn't move it or you couldn't play or it's again, I'm no surgeon or anything. I just know from years of talking, because we're friends, like we're almost like family now. Yeah. But I talk to her about this all the time because I always think about my hands. And but the idea that everything's connected makes complete sense. You might find if somebody gave you a massage here, it would feel better here because you don't know really where it is, right. Or like say your back was tight. That all of a sudden that feels great and it opens up other things. That's kind of my.
I know that Rusty and I have talked about this a couple of times because I've told you I've gone to some massage therapists in my town, and I've been seeing a local sports doctor and a chiropractor. He's like a sports doctor, chiropractic specialist. So that way, if you go, your insurance will cover one of the three. That's kind of why he does it that way. And it's really great. His name's Dr. Jones, and he's a ex-bodybuilder. So he's massive, like 6'4", 300 pounds. Just a massive human being. He picks me up like one arm and it doesn't even affect him. But he's the only person that's been able to adjust my back enough to actually get the blood flow. Like I feel blood flow from my lower back all the way up to my shoulder, which then keeps you, like you said, in totality. If your lower back hurts, you do this because it hurts. And then you're inward, and then you're inward picking versus allowing your arm and your back to expand to get the blood flow to be able to play correctly. And that's what he was explaining to me. And he did that. You ever had that cup therapy where they put the suction and it like pulls the blood to that area really tight? Have you ever had that done?
I have.
It hurts, but you get this big fat bruise on your, because it's all the blood gets flown there. And he's like, well, your blood is there to heal, so they push as much blood as possible to those areas. And maybe that's something you need to look at is getting your shoulder, upper back checked out, and that might fix, well, it's on this hand, that problem because like he said, you might have that, like something's pinching here. And I feel that, man, like right there, I've got this pinch above my shoulder and it affects my picking. And that's why yesterday I asked you about, how to pick differently. And it all, man, it's crazy how something so small could affect something so important to you.
That makes sense. I'm so glad we had this conversation today, because I might have learned something that I didn't have any clue was even related.
Dr. Batio.
Yeah. Thank you.
Dr. Mike.
Yeah. Dr. Mike in the house. That's awesome, man.
I mean, especially now because I'm getting up there in age, and I want to keep playing. Last year I did a show with not last year, God, it's 2 years ago. Sorry, this COVID thing. Yeah. I was in Atlanta with Bruce Kulick from Kiss, and we were doing our show. And I'm a fan of his; he's a fan of mine, and we were watching each other's show, just kind of single with track. So he was telling me, he goes, Mike, this was in June. He goes, are you around Chicago in July? And I said, yeah. I looked at my schedule. I'm off tour around the 4th. He goes, I'm playing with Grand Funk Railroad now. And he goes, Bad Company with Paul Rogers is the headliner. Now, Paul Rogers sang with Queen. The guy is just so amazing. And so I went there and I took my brother-in-law. It was right where my brother-in-law lives. We go backstage and it's outdoors. It's like Naperville Fest or, some suburb. And we go in the dressing rooms, the mobile homes, and they're watching one of my double guitar videos. So I got guys in Grand Funk and Bad Company talking to me about this. And we're just going back and forth. And here's the whole point of what I'm saying. Paul Rogers is easily 10 years older than me. And that guy sang like a 20-year-old. He got up on stage. There were young chicks in the audience throwing, panties and stuff at him. He had a whole core of groupies, and he was probably old enough to be their grandfather. And and the point is, he was so good. And you can see him in person. He takes care of himself, and I'm sure that, he has people, to help him out, but his voice was young. And that's what I want to do on guitar. I want to keep my fingers young. But that's the thing about this whole, again, I'm no doctor, but everything is related, so, like just because it's here, see, if it was in your thumb, that could be carpal tunnel. And then a lot of people get surgery, surgery's no guarantee it can still come back. it's the last thing I would ever do is surgery and but this kind of thing, what my ex told me, it's an aggravation somewhere it's being aggravated by something. And there's only a few spots, so you just kind of have to figure that one out, but it's all related. So there's the moral of Mikey's story here.
Awesome. Thank you. I wanted to, real quick, I want to mention one thing, but guys, Mike, before we finish the show today, I want you got to tell Zach your Kiss story when you went and auditioned, because that's one of his all-time favorite bands. And that Gene Simmons story was always the coolest to hear. But real quick, I want to talk about my thumb. You just mentioned your thumb, right? So my thumb on my left hand. So I had an accident with my thumb, was when I was first joined Dean with Elliot, right? And I was going down to play the first DOA that I ever played. And it was about 2 weeks before that, and I was walking out of my house into my garage, and I went back like this with my hand to shut the garage door, and you know how the little pin thing turns to lock it, right? Well, it landed right at my hand and it was right here in my thumb, just in the right spot. And I was freaking out because it hurt really bad, and I couldn't play for a couple of days, and I was going, oh man, I don't know if I can play when I come down. And so I went and saw a specialist, and they did an x-ray on my hand, and the doctor looked at my x-ray and said, well, you just got some deep tissue bruising, it's gonna be fine. He goes, but what's that in your thumb right there? And I went, oh shit. When I was about in middle school, I got shot in the hand with a BB gun, and I thought the BB went in because there's 2 scars on my hand. It looked like an interest. The BB's still in my thumb on my left hand.
Whoa.
Yeah, you could see it in the x-ray. So I still have a BB in my thumb to this day. And, it's funny that you mentioned that thumb thing, because it's like, yeah, man, I got a BB in that thumb. And then doctor, I said, well, what do I do about it? And he's like, well, he goes, we can do 2 things. We can either go in and remove it surgically and break your thumb and take that BB out and set it. And I was like, no, what's the other option? You know what I mean? He goes, well, if it doesn't bother you too bad, just leave it. And I was like, okay, I'm cool with that one. But I only notice it now that I've gotten older, kind of in the winter, sometimes my hand will kind of ache a little bit. And I know it's that BB, you know what I mean? But I thought it was a great story. It's like I wanted to get a copy of that x-ray and tell everybody it was an alien implant. That's why I play this way. You know what I mean?
I'm surprised you never got hit with the metal detector or something, having a BB. Maybe now you will.
Yeah, you know what? I think maybe sometimes it has been my BB, but I wear these jeans with these big buckles and stuff on them, and they're like half the times I think it's my jeans or something, but maybe it has been my thumb a couple times. Who knows, man? Well, it's a copper BB, so I guess that would still throw a metal detector off. I don't know, man. But funny enough.
I have one good Kiss story I can tell. Yeah. Not the one where I auditioned for them, but this is when I was 18. We won a Battle of the Bands to open up for Kiss. And this is before they were big. And I remember they were playing, my high school was called Maine North. And its claim to fame, it's the High School and the Breakfast Club movie. And so that's that's the library, the LRC, all that. So anyway, our band Episode, it was called Episode. We opened for Kiss. This is before they were big, but they were this huge underground band. Everybody was talking about Kiss. And their first album came out. And I remember that one of my friends' bands from another high school won the second slot. And they thought it would be cooler. They kind of it was their high school that I played. I was the Maine West High School Field House, and it was sold out. Tickets were like $4, $3, and something like that. So anyway, they wanted to play second, and it was their school, and then they had and so we said, and they thought it would be a better slot. So we opened up, and I remember, and I'm pretty tall. I'm about 6 feet tall. I saw Paul Stanley without his makeup, but he's wearing these shoes that were freaking like the Empire State Building. They were super high. And I'm looking at him going, and I didn't know what to say to him. I'm 18 years old. They were probably 25, 26 at the time, 24, who even knows? And I'd have to look at their age. But they were a little bit older, but not crazy. And I didn't know what to say to him. So I go, Paul, I like your shoes. And he goes, these are my slippers. I get them custom made in New York. And he walked, and I was like, okay, excuse me. But I learned what it was like to be sabotaged.
Oh, man.
I'm playing a guitar solo. They would turn the light off of me, shine it on the drummer. I mean, we couldn't hear anything. It was the worst sound. And luckily, we were just tight. We'd been together, we were kids, and we had been together a couple of years. We knew the songs. We don't have a recording, but we knew we played okay. But we were just absolutely sabotaged. And then my friend's band that went on next, they thought they got booed off the stage. They're like, okay, we've seen one band. We want Kiss.
Yeah.
But I have to say, Kiss back then, Ace Frehley, I'd never seen anybody like him. I didn't even really, I didn't know much about his guitar playing. But man, he was shooting looks like smoke out of his, bombs out of his guitar. And he looked like an angel in that makeup, like with that really, when he was young. We were just like, wow. Ace was the one we all looked at the most, It was weird. And then Gene and Paul, obviously became the band, but he was the most striking guy. So there's my Kiss story. But I was sabotaged by Kiss at a very young age.
Yeah. And it's funny that you mentioned that too about Ace, because I always liked Ace way before I even played guitar. That's the guy that I liked in Kiss as well.
Yeah.
That's very cool, man. That's a great story, man. That's a cool thing to have lived that, and been there.
Well, what's funny? I had a guy contact me because I know Gene Simmons, and we've had numerous things that in my career, with Kiss, not numerous, but several things. And this guy's writing a book about every single Kiss show that they ever did, and he's pretty much got 99%. He scouted. He found a photo of the flyer where it says Kiss and my band called Episode, and this other band, I don't remember what they were called, Westfall. Anyway, and it said the ticket price was like $4. And so he found this. And then when he found out that I was in this band Episode, we were talking about it. And he said something too about that Ace seemed to have been the one most people comment on from the very early days. He just, I don't know what it was. He seemed to be like the most charismatic. I mean, I don't know, but I really can't remember Gene Simmons' makeup then to now. I knew he was the demon and Paul was the star child, but it was Ace that just looked so cool.
Yeah. For sure, man. For sure. So do you want to share the story with Zach about the audition? Or you feel up for that or not? You don't have to. I mean, just a question,
Yeah. I mean, you can, publish this or, I mean, it's okay, Zach.
Yes.
Okay. This is,
I'm very excited about this, by the way. We're talking about, I got 3 of my favorite guitar players we're talking about right now. So I'm excited.
What happened? This is the era right before Vinnie Vincent. So now Kiss is going to take off their makeup. I got signed to Shrapnel Records. Very early, I did this solo called The Haunted House. Marty Friedman's on there, and Derek Frigo, who played in Enough's Enough. And so anyway, it was called US Metal 2. This is a couple of years before Yngwie hit. So he hadn't even been known, And so anyway, I had a really good promo shot. And I really looked like a Geico insurance salesman. But this one particular photo was really cool. And so Mike Varney sent it to Kiss, and they asked me to audition. So I fly to LA from Chicago. I had to learn Dr. Love, and I don't remember what other song, but I had to sing Dr. Love because I can't sing. I used to lead sing in bands before, but not, it's not something I really do much about at all. So anyway, I fly to LA. We're at SIR Studios on Sunset and Gower, right in Hollywood. And I walk into this room. Now, I had short hair. I wasn't far away from graduating school. And I look like a geek from Chicago. So I walk in, and there's Gene Simmons, Paul Stanley, and Eric Carr. And there's this wall of Marshalls. And I walk into the bathroom at SIR looking in the mirror, shaking. Like, oh my God, if Wayne's World would have been out at that time, I would have been on my knees going, I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy. I mean, the first thing I could think is like, I love you guys, man. I love you guys. Yeah. And immediately I was fanboy, immediately. Yeah. But they were really courteous. I mean, I have to say, it's a really, they were totally cool. So I get in the middle. So I'm standing from my stage perspective. I've got Paul on the left, Gene on the right, Eric Carr behind me. And we start playing Dr. Love. And I'm like, they call me Dr. Love. I am the doctor. I'm singing this. And Gene stops it. And he's like, what are you singing? What are the words? And I never owned a Kiss album. I didn't even buy the book. And then I finally broke down and bought a Kiss. No, I didn't buy the Kiss song. I bought the record and I figured out the lyrics from the album. And he starts laughing. He goes, those aren't the words to the song. And then, and then I was ripping a little bit. And then he starts doing this. He starts playing. I actually have my guitar like. Can you hear that? He starts playing Sunshine of Your Love. He's like, do, 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 do. And he's like, I'm with you, my love. And he starts singing this, and this is power. I've been in bands my whole life since I was 10 years old. I never heard power coming from a stage. When Eric Carr say, I'm lefty. Okay, so he'd be like this. Yeah. But anyway, and then there's a part that goes like, I've been waiting so long to be where I'm going. And then Paul Stanley kicks in the harmonies. So I was freaking. It was so powerful. And then Gene gives him a mic and he points at me, he goes, solo. I'm like, okay. And I start ripping and I start doing my thing, right? I'm going ballistic. He stops. He goes, stop. I'm like, what? And he goes, do that again. I'm like, what? He goes, play. I'm like, okay. So I start playing. And he said, stop. It's like, stop. It's Gene Simmons. And in the back of my mind, I swear, I'm thinking, this guy's got an 8-foot-long tongue. And I'm thinking, I was going to be like, I and the frog on the Empire Strikes Back, where you see the frog go, and just come off. I'm like, and then he makes me stop. Then he says, play. And I start playing again. And then I start doing my over-under thing. And he says, stop. And I'm like, what? Now I'm starting to get aggravated because he's literally making me stop. And I'm like, what? And he goes, Michael. I'm like, what? He goes, how did you do this? I'm like, oh, okay, Jimmy. And then I break into guitar teacher mode. I'm like, well, that's like this. And he's like, and then he did the thing. He goes, interesting. I'm like, holy shit. He talked with this attitude back then, like, I've gone out with Cher. What are you going to do to impress me? It's like, I've done it. I am the man. And so that's what happened. And then if you watch the early Kiss videos with Gene playing with no makeup, the Vinnie Vincent era, there he is playing over the neck, and it's like, I'm not saying I showed him, but I was obviously I didn't get the gig, but I got to know Gene Simmons. He was a fan of Nitro. He liked me and Jim. And I have another great story about Kiss at NAMM. This was a good one. But that really happened. And I was scared to death. But one of the things I learned is I was fanboy. And when you're fanboy or fangirl, if somebody comes up to you, oh my God, Rusty, oh my God, they're a fan. Yeah, I should have walked in the room and said, hey, dudes, but I couldn't. I'm not worthy. Yeah. I mean, I was petrified. And they really, the sound coming off that stage at SI, there were at least 4 Marshall stacks. I mean, I had never played a guitar so loud. Rusty, have you ever played through Mark's kit? Mark, yeah. I mean, you know what when it bowls you over, it's so loud. Yeah. That's how it was like with me with Kiss. It was so loud. It was almost uncontrollable. I'd never played that loud in my life. I couldn't believe it. But so that's my story, Zach.
Yeah. That's awesome. I actually have, so I've got, I had that same thing when I met you, because you came to Omaha, Nebraska, and you were playing at a show or at a bar that was here. And I was supposed to show up like later, but I knew the owner of the bar, and he's like, hey man, Batio's crew said you could come like a half hour early and watch sound check, and I was like, that's freaking cool, so I showed up, and I didn't know how tall you were. I had no idea that you were like 6 foot tall. And so in my head, I thought you're my height or whatever. And I get there and it's just you on stage and nobody else is there except the bartender and your crew, Joe. And I was just watching you, and my Alicia was texting me, my wife, and she was just like, how is it? And I'm like, I can't even text you right now. Like, I'm freaking out. Like, because, it's so different when you see it on screen or you see it on YouTube or you see it on a stage. But like, I was within 10 feet of you just watching you play. And then I was trying to get a Dean endorsement at the time, but it just never came through with the band that I was in. And I had all my Deans back there, and I had one that was orange, and I called it the Clockwork Orange because I had all these black clockwork things on it, and it was really cool. And my wife made a guitar. I actually have it. I might grab it. It had all those like zombie characters all over it. And I was standing there putting my stuff together, and then here's this voice coming from me. You're like, oh, that guitar is pretty cool. And I just like froze, and I was like, there's no way that's Batio right now. Like, because I was just panicked. And then I turn around, and it's you, and you're like, oh, let me see that guitar. And I'm just like, okay. Like, I didn't even know what to do. Like, deer in the headlights. And it was really just a great experience. And, the one thing that I remember too was that I was on stage playing, and you actually came out and watched us play. And I had that same thing. I was like, I can't even play. Like, I'm not worthy. I felt like I sucked, but you always maybe feel that way, I guess, when you're around somebody. But that's my story of meeting you. And that was really great.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. Joe was, if you ever think you have a bad day, he's my former tech. I have a different tech now, but he got hit by a semi, tore literally. I mean, wow, scars on his face, and he's a great person. I mean, he overcame some real adversity, with that. But he's a really good tech, and he was a repo man too. He's got quite a story. So I mean, he's just cool, but he's like a take no shit kind of guy, and. But yeah, it was because he's a good guitar player, and he's really good with, he's a mechanic. He's an ace car mechanic. So a couple of times on the road, some parts of my guitars would like break or just typical tour things. He could fix it like nothing. It was really good.
I'm going to grab this guitar. Hang on a second. You guys keep talking.
Yeah, then I'm going to off, okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
No problem,
okay. Man. And it's great seeing you again,
Absolutely, dude. It is, man. It's great to have you on the show, and it's been very, very informative. And that's the most important thing about our show. It's it's us hanging out, having a conversation, but at the same time, it's the information that people can take from our experiences or what we have to just talk about. You know what I mean? So, it's even like as a guitar teacher, I find some of my best lessons no notes are ever played in, because it's the information that you're giving someone that goes way farther than here's the latest cool lick. You know what I mean? So that's what we're kind of trying to do here. So thank you for that.
Yeah, no, it's fun. It's that's why that's the thing about what's changed about our, what we do, this, but yeah, you've got a really cool setup. It looks great. Sorry. We had all the cameras set up for video, but this looks good too. I mean, it's just, I don't know why my stand is kind of too much red. It's, bowing, but his story is pretty crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure, man, for sure.
It's amazing. So what's Mark doing? Is he, because I don't see him online much, is he
he's at home. He's doing he just had a baby girl about 3 weeks, maybe. I don't know, man. Maybe it's been about a month now, but he just had a little girl, and he's doing a lot of dad stuff, taking the kids to soccer practice and playing guitar as much as he can, typical Mark stuff, just playing and being the family guy while he's at home, So and I think he's really enjoying it because of how much he normally tours. So he's getting to spend all this extra time with his kids and getting just, good family time. Nothing takes place of that. You know what I mean?
I don't know if touring for me is really the way in the future. I'm just not really sure what's going to happen, and I'm not really too worried about it, but it's I mean, I kind of enjoy being home and doing this stuff, and
Yeah, for sure. That's been one of the blessings for me throughout the years, even before COVID. I've always had my teaching to really support me, so that I could only, it enabled me to take only the gigs I wanted to take. Because there's been a lot of musicians out there that I've talked to through the years that are like, oh yeah, I got to go out on a month with so and so. No matter how big of a rock star this person was, they had to do it because they had to pay their bills. Right. You know what I mean? So it might have been a gig that they didn't like to do, but they had to take it. And it's like that's when I changed my thought on guitar playing. I mean, teaching, because I always thought through the years, I'm going to teach until I make it. I'm going to teach until I make it. You know what I mean? And it's like, and as things progressed, it was like I took a whole different perspective on it. When I saw it from that view, and it's like, well, I get to stay home with my family, watch my kids grow up, take the gigs I only want to take, write only the music and play only the music I want to play. And you know, it's turned into it was a blessing in disguise, you know, initially, because I kind of looked down upon it. I thought, oh, I'm just teaching, you know, this is not cool. I want to be out there doing all the touring all the time. And it kind of turned around, and I have a different view on it now. So,
well, you know, if you think about it, and I actually, you know, I truly believe this. I think you're one of the people that showed you could be a rock star and a known guitar player without actually doing it the way a lot of us, like I had to do shows where you got your reputation online. And so, and if you think about it, was like the beginning of, that's how people do it nowadays, you know, because I remember it was an interesting thing that I was thinking, you know, you've got all this notoriety, and it's because of things you did that got you noticed from the internet community of guitar players. And it was like a new way of doing it. And you know, sometimes people know they do it. Sometimes it just kind of happens, you know, but I think you were like the right guitarist at the right time. You know, we were having this rebirth of kick-ass guitar. You know, people were, well, look at Mark Tremonti's a perfect example. Alter bridge, you know, between alternative music and you know, not being able to play solo. So that's, you know, because I know we had talked back in the day too, but I think you got online, and that's where things really took off. And I think I didn't even really understand that part of the business. You know what I mean? That was like, I couldn't really grasp that at all. But here we are today.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think that, you know, I was there at the right time. You know, I didn't know I was there at the right time. It's what it turned out to be. You know what I mean? It's just, you know, I mean,
that's how I found out about you.
I never intended to be an instrumental guitar player. I always wanted to be a band guy. I did that instrumental album as a break from playing in local bands. And it just so happens that was the right timing with the internet taking off. I put my album out and had developed a following with online stuff. And it just all kind of took off from there, you know. So, you know, it wasn't like I had this brilliant plan, you know. It just kind of happened, man. So
but yeah, that's probably the reason it did happen. You know what I mean?
Right.
But you know, I remember I was in I was touring in Asia, and I was in Thailand, and this guy named WUT or Woot or whatever, and he's Rusty Cooley kicks ass, man. And he's, you know, and I remember, and I said, yeah, I know Rusty. And, you know, it just, that's when it really dawned on me that the internet can make stars, you know, and really, and I'm going to say this, not just because we're friends, but, you know, I actually told Elliot that too. I said, you know, Rusty's done something here. He's actually made his name by using the internet. And I said, this is, you know, who would have thought that was even possible? You know what I mean? So you really kind of blazed a trail, whether you knew it or not. It was, you know, and I mean, Elliot agreed. And we were like, it's awesome, you know, because we didn't know that it was like buying a guitar online. Who would know somebody would actually do that? I always thought you needed one in your hand, but it's proven that people do it all the time now. It's like a normal thing, you know, and I, you know, but no, I mean, you should give yourself a lot of credit, you know, you were one of the guys really, when you think about it, that you know, you didn't use the normal ways because the normal ways were changing, you know. It would have been, so it's just interesting to me.
Yeah, you know? It is, and it's continuing. You know, just as we've spoke today, the things that I'm now having to do that I didn't want to do, but that's, you either keep up or, you know, get out of the way. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's crazy, man.
Yeah, well, you know, yeah, and you know, but no, I'm really glad we had this conversation today, man. It's great, and you know, feel free to use anything you want. I mean, we didn't say anything derogatory about anybody, and you know, we didn't bring up, you know, I always, when people bring up Dean, I always go the Elliott era.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, because I don't even like to say the name because I don't want to give any power to it. But when it comes to Elliott, I have nothing but respect for him. I mean, he was a great person. Yeah,
but I know what you mean. It's really weird for me. I don't even like to say the name of the former company.
Exactly. That's great. The former company. That's kind of, you know, I didn't even announce when I wasn't with them anymore. I just announced where I was at and didn't even say anything about leaving or whatever. And so I was just like, here's where I'm at now. You know, I didn't want to give anything to it. You know what I mean? But much respect to Elliott always.
Yeah, the change was so different. I mean, drastic. So, but anyway, we're in a good. But Russ, great seeing you. Zach, thank you.
And just real quick, here's that guitar that I don't think either Rusty's never seen.
I've never seen that.
But this is the one that you were holding. I got the photo of you holding it. It's got all of Alicia's zombie characters all over it.
That's cool, man. I like that.
And it's got little worms on as the dots, 9, 12. And
that's great, man.
And then
that's your signature model.
And then eyeballs. I don't know if you can see eyeball tuners. It's just one of the quirky, and that was the first guitar you just came up and you just grabbed it and you're like, this is cool. And I was like, well, yeah, it is cool. But I'll actually post the photo too, but it's just really cool, man. Like, I may have to have her design my guitar.
That'd be great.
But anyway, I really appreciate it. Like both of you guys, you're both, my like people that I studied under, for my career. So I really appreciate all of this.
Cool. The brother of guitar. All right. Well, guys, later. Bye, Zach.
Awesome. Michael, thank you. Thank you. Have a great day.
Well, that was good.
Yeah, man.
Hopefully you got some info about your hand. Maybe you get some stuff.
Yeah, it's amazing the insight that I'm actually getting from the show.
I know, right?
It's helpful. I'm learning so much from it, and all the artists we've have had on the show. It's going to be great, man. Awesome. So there's another exciting episode of Guitar Autopsy. Episode with Michael Angelo Batio.
Yes.
The man, the myth, the legend, the shred god, the man with hands with no, what is it? Hands with no shadows?
Hands without shadows.
Hands without shadows. Thank you, Michael, for being on the show. It's always a pleasure. And signing out. We'll see you next time.